November, had this to say about the automaker's move.
We got a few problems. We have lots of little burdens and regulations and taxes. But smart people figure out how to make it.
Notice California Governor Brown's rebuttal to companies leaving California in droves due to excessive overregulation by big government liberals. He says smart people figure out how to make it, which means there must be a lot of dumb business owners in California, because Spectrum Location Solutions found that about 9,000 companies moved their headquarters or diverted projects to out-of-state locations away from California from 2008 to 2015 due to the Golden State's hostile business environment. And they aren't all mom-and-pop shops. Companies like Toyota, Carl's Jr., and Nestle, among others, have found California to be bad for business. But it's not just high taxes and excessive regulations. Its anti-business sentiment has created the perfect breeding grounds for frivolous lawsuits. California ranks as the worst state in America for treatment of class action lawsuits, the worst for damages applied to lawsuits, the third worst in timeliness of decisions in the litigation of those lawsuits. They rank fifth worst in judges' competence and second worst in judges' fairness, according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. California is perpetually ranked among the worst governed states in America and has more debt than any other state and the worst credit rating of any other state. But how do they rack up such massive debt? Where does all the money go? The first thing big government bureaucrats do with your tax dollars is give it to their own being other government workers and massive unions that are big donors to Democratic politicians.
Is that the Los Angeles City Council members are paid $178,000 per year?
They are the highest paid legislative body in the nation, John. We just had a councilwoman that Janice Hahn went to Congress, the House of Representatives, and she has to take a cut in pay. They make more money than United States senators for a Los Angeles City Council.
Los Angeles, each councilman is given a car?
They get a car that has a license plate that says exempt, so they can park in meters and they don't get tickets.
$178,000 per year in Los Angeles versus in Dallas, $37,000, San Antonio, $1,400.
California is not a right-to-work state. They have very powerful unions, especially government unions. They are to spend millions and millions of dollars to promote bigger government and higher taxes.
4 California cities have now declared bankruptcy, Stockton the biggest, and San Bernardino. The result isn't pretty. Some 50-year-old retirees were promised they can collect forever. Well, until they die, but actually after that too, because their spouse may collect after they die, and the money just isn't there. Politicians promised them much more money than the town had. So, do the people in San Bernardino realize that's the reason the town went belly up? No. One union blamed the mayor and former city manager for spending money on a downtown movie theater.
Yeah, the movie theater is nice, but it's nothing compared to the $45.8 million deficit that the city of San Bernardino is running. And by the way, when they filed for bankruptcy, they had $150,000 in the city bank account.
The San Bernardino politicians said, we didn't see it coming. How could they? They owed $46 million. They had $100,000 in the bank.
Yes, and they have payments that they're required to pay into CalPERS, $1.8 million a month. And they didn't see that coming. With $150K in the bank, nothing's going to cover these pension obligations. Not in San Bernardino, not in Stockton, not in Vallejo, not in Compton, not in any of these other cities in California that are simply failing.
California's also going bankrupt. $167 billion in debt. Are you kidding me? That is grossly irresponsible for a state with as many natural resources as California. I mean, these pinheads in Sacramento think they can just spend money and other people have to pick up the tab.
Tough times in Stockton, California, with that city, the largest one ever to file for bankruptcy. And city officials are saying it was tough but necessary. Stockton is one of 3 cities now to declare bankruptcy in the state. According to Vice Mayor Kathy Miller, public safety employees were costing the city, on average, more than $150,000 each per year. We heard about that hefty benefit package there and for those employees. How did it get to that point where they were able to collect so much?
You know, it happened incrementally over about a 10-year period and during the 1990s. And Stockton's not alone in this. Cities all across our state, especially, really ramped up enhanced pensions and increased benefits. And one of the benefits that Stockton granted to its employees, which ended up really being the largest single problem that we have financially, is we granted free lifetime medical benefits to our retirees.
Wow.
The mayor of Stockton, who owns this balloon shop, thinks her city and her country will find a way out of their current malaise.
I think we have a good future. I think we're still figuring out how we play that future, what role we have, and how we resume again our prominence in innovation and manufacturing and a lot of those industries. It's a matter of evaluating who we want to be when we grow up.
The mayor of Stockton is the owner of a balloon shop. That's right, a balloon shop. And after her incompetence and fidelity to the left-wing policies inevitably ends in failure, she says Stockton is still figuring out what they are, which is interesting because this is a city first established in 1850 and had a population of over 50,000 people by 1950, over 100,000 residents by 1970, and nearly 250,000 residents by the year 2000. And yet she says the city is still figuring out who and what they are. The left-wing state of California ended its 2014-2015 fiscal year negative $175 billion. California Democrats are so liberal with taxpayers' money, they'll spend it on just about anything, as long as it makes them look compassionate and pleases their voter base. In Richmond, California, the Office of Neighborhood Safety was paying young men not to kill each other, with a maximum of $1,300 per month not to kill someone, funded by taxpayers. California Democrats are now pushing legislation aimed at helping poorer families be able to take beach vacations. Assembly Bill 250 would direct the State Coastal Conservancy to develop new, low-cost accommodations and improve existing affordable accommodations with the goal of making a trip to the beach more accessible for families that don't have a lot of money. The city of San Francisco has implemented multiple government-funded projects to curtail the public health problem of feces and used syringes all around the city, and the liberal elitist who inhabit San Francisco says it's everyone else, the people inhabiting the non-coastal states, that are the idiots. People and businesses are leaving California because left-wing belief systems inevitably create a massive government with excessive regulations and overspending on anything that could win them a vote, but also through spending billions annually on illegal immigrants and horrendous public schooling systems.
California owes an astounding $167 billion, and it's running an annual deficit of about $9 billion, money that can never be paid back. And what is California getting for all that? High school graduation rate, 37 out of 50 states.
Businesswoman Lana Zweigart decided that placing her son in a crowded high school where many students do not speak English was simply not an option. Rather than pay the high tuition costs of a private school, Zweigart decided it was time to move her family and her company out of California. Her story is the story of middle-class Californians and business owners that have simply had enough of the declining quality of life and no longer have any faith that Sacramento and Washington will act to secure the border and protect American citizens.
I've been in California for 31 years. I have 2 children, and I have progressively felt the decline of where I live, within my business, within my family. Well, Pomona, when I first moved in, was a wonderful little small community, very family orientated. I can't go there any longer. With my surroundings of being bombarded by illegal immigration, schools, they're catering to the illegals.
Again, I think the primary message is that it is the obligation and mission of our public schools to educate all children, regardless
not illegals.
of immigration status. This is a right. These children have a right to an education.
Particularly the border crossing is dear to our heart. We have just recently funded a few projects specifically addressing on the border crossing and to reduce the waiting time as cars coming in and to reduce the pollution.
What?
And we should ask for next question, please. We would like to give the opportunity to the LA downtown office.
They're letting people cross faster?
Communities that are sometimes threatened or intimidated by giving comment in a language that isn't as comfortable to them. So,
este foro va a ser en español y en inglés. En español vamos a hablar y en inglés. For in English, it's going to be in your headset. So this forum is in Spanish and in English. In English in your headsets. In Spanish, we're going to be speaking on the microphone.
We live in America. It should be in English.
More people here speak English and Spanish.